Well, happy Mother's Day. Glad you're here. Linda and I went to Wicked this week, and so our crowd was small this morning. I think there was some melting going on in the first service, but rains parted. You guys much more holy and probably not as wicked as that first service. I'm glad you're here. We do want to welcome moms, gals, if you're here today. We have a gift for you, a little Baker's chocolate out in the lobby. Baker's chocolate is now, I guess, the official candy of StoneBridge. So we're glad. There's one outside this lobby, and if you're in the Commons this morning worshiping, then as well, there's one in the lobby there as well. Just pick that up afterwards and enjoy it. And kids, if you didn't get your mom something, pick one up as well. So you could. Now we're going to take a look at the life of Jesus' mom today, Mary. Now, I know moms are like, oh, great, I'm going to be compared to her now. But perhaps her faith can serve us well today, and for all of us, as we examine the life of this incredible woman of faith. Now, there's not a lot of information about Mary. We would think so because, there's a lot of conversations and a lot of, certain people certainly we think she's an outstanding woman. But, we're going to take a little snippets today of her life and watch as she moves forward in her faith. And Mary got started, but Mary's life got, disrupted by God, and it changed everything. When our lives get disrupted by God, certain things get in motion at that moment. When we begin to, God disrupts our life, we say yes to that disruption. Incredible stuff happens. Luke 1:28 through 29. Gabriel appeared to her and said, "Greetings, favored woman, the Lord is with you." Confused and disturbed, Mary tried to think what the angel could mean. Now, she is confused and disturbed. She's afraid, and he hasn't even told her anything, really. I mean, there's not a mention of pregnancy. There's not a mention of this weird stuff that's going to happen in her body. All this stuff. The angel just appears and says, "Greetings, favored woman." Now, the reason that's confusing and fearful is because he's an angel, and he greets her in a way that is only usually reserved for royalty. Mary's not royalty. She's a peasant girl from a small town. Probably does not know how to read or write. Probably only knows one language. Probably doesn't know a whole lot about stuff, right? She's a young teenage girl, hasn't experienced much in life. She is in love and she is engaged. But beyond that, she's pretty naive. And so for her to get a greeting like this is bizarre to her and confusing, and no doubt. And her faith is going to be challenged at this moment. Often times when God disrupts our lives, that is exactly the emotion that we feel. Why me? Why now? Why are you asking me to do this? And so our faith is being challenged. And it's not that. It sounds more like this. I think you got the wrong person. I'm not sure what I don't have time for this. I don't know enough. When our lives get disrupted by God, whether it's asked to do a ministry thing or to be involved in a certain project like this, or that we would go, "Oh, I don't think I got it in me. I don't think that you're asking the wrong person." And all God is asking for us at this moment is to have faith. Not only is Mary confused, she's afraid. So the angel says, "Don't be afraid." Right. Okay, I'm not supposed to be afraid, right? It's kind of like saying, "Stop being afraid." How do you stop being afraid when, right? It's very difficult for a command like that from the Lord to stop. Just stop. Just knock it off. Well, I don't. Okay, I'm going to try. And I think it's great that Mary, even though she's afraid, even though she's confused, that God still believes in her. If he just said, well, greetings, favored one. In Gabriel says, like, "Lord, I think that we got the wrong gal here. I think she's got potential, but I don't think she's up for the task. I think we should try to find another virgin that would fall in love with Joseph. I mean, he seems solid enough, but I think she's a little, I don't know if she's got it in her. I mean, she's already backpedaling. I'm not sure, right? Isn't it great that the Lord doesn't give up around that moment? He says, let's move forward, let's keep going. And I think, God believes in her. Just because there's some confusion and just because there's some fear in your heart doesn't mean that God is going to give up on you. So Mary asked some questions. When there's confusion and when there's fear, it's appropriate to ask some questions. If it's like, what? And so and to seek some clarity. So here in Luke 1:34, Mary asked the angel, how can this happen? I'm a virgin. Now, Mary's a peasant girl. She doesn't know much. She hasn't got probably no schooling, probably, right? But she's had the talk with her mom. She does know this. I can't get pregnant this way. This is not possible. I know Mom told me this. But this is not, I'm pretty sure this isn't supposed to happen this way. This is impossible. And you might be facing some impossible tasks at this moment too. Facing some things that you think, well, I don't know if it's possible to save my marriage. I really don't know if it's possible for us to get out of this financial mess that we've got ourselves into. I'm not sure it's possible for us to, right? I don't know. And how do you move on after a loss? It seems so impossible. I've tried. How do I move on after a divorce? I don't know how. By the way, God always has the answer for the impossible. He's the answer for that. In fact, Mary kind of, the conclusion is stated in Luke 1:37. For nothing is impossible with God. I think it does imply that there are some things that are impossible. There's impossible situations and circumstances. There certainly is. And without God, it really, truly, there are some things in life that's impossible. But with God, nothing is impossible. The key to that is the Lord's presence in our lives. Often we bark out these words to God, that's impossible, I'm not qualified, I don't think I can do it. And then God says, I understand, I understand, but I think you can. And I wouldn't ask you if I didn't think you could, and I believe in you, and you can do this. And Mary's response is, well, the probability of this happening for me to get pregnant without sex, 0. Don't think this is possible. Can't happen. I know. I don't know much, but I do know that. It's 0. And he said, okay, well, we can do this together. The key to beating the odds was found in verse 28. It says, greetings, favored woman, the Lord is with you. That's the key to this whole thing. The Lord is with us. That's why we gravitate to the 23rd Psalm all the time when it seems impossible. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil for. Why? Thou art with me. That's the key to that passage, right? So that we understand that I can walk through the most impossible times and situations and circumstances with God. He's going to see me through. We're going to walk through this together. And that's why he says the key to this whole situation for Mary is that without God, this is impossible. With God, I think we got a shot at it. So Mary trusts. She doesn't know much about faith. She probably hasn't ever read anything about faith. No faith help books. No nothing like that. She's only heard stories. Perhaps watched her parents, maybe some people in their little town. But basically, she's trying to figure this out as well. And she didn't even know what was happening in her own body, but she comes to the conclusion in verse 38. I am the Lord's servant. May everything you have said about me come true. Then the angel left her. Oh, what? But she comes to this moment of faith where she says, okay, may this come true. May this really happen. That's an incredible statement. I am the Lord's servant, she says. Okay, I will do, if this is what you want me to do, I am the Lord's servant. What if we had that kind of attitude that every time we're asked by God, every time he disrupts our lives, every time we have a prompting from him, we say, well, I'm the Lord's servant. This is what you want me to do. That seems impossible. I'm not sure I'm up, but okay. Every little disruption we have from God, every time our lives get a little messed up because he's leading us into faith kind of situations, the response that Mary has, and which sets her apart here, is a faith statement that says, I'm in. I will do it. May this come true. Right? And perhaps she even taught her boy, this is what faith is. So that Jesus one day would say to his followers, oh, yeah, you could pray it like this. Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Let's do this. So here's Mary's faith in action. Now, what would have happened if she had said no to the equation? I mean, just think about that. Here's the ask. Want you to do this. Here we go. And all of heaven is kind of like holding their breath. Because, she's making this decision. And, think about that. This is a big disruption. Everything changes at the moment she says, okay. And from here on out, something's going to happen in her body, and her DNA is going to be in the DNA of the Son of God. And it's quite possible that he's going to have her eyes and her hair and her, right? Because that's what's going to go on. So where does Mary's faith lead her? When we are disrupted by God and we say yes, he's going to lead us to places. Matthew 2:13, we find Mary there. After the wise men were gone, an angel of the Lord appeared to Joseph in a dream. Get up, flee to Egypt with the child and his mother. Stay there until I tell you to return, because Herod's going to search for the child to kill him. So Jesus is born, wise men show up, they tell the king. King's like, whoa, what? I don't think so. And he begins to do the most horrible thing. He kills all these little babies, little baby boys. And Joseph has a heads up here. And Jesus, he says, you got to get out of here. You got to get to Egypt. He's not going to search for you there. They won't let him in. You'll be safe there. Oftentimes our faith leads us to problems. Big problems. Because of this baby, they have to go to Egypt. They can't go home. It was not fun and games for them at the beginning. No white picket fence, no Toys R Us. It is we got to get to Egypt. And they do. Moms, you know this. Being a mom is not a problem-free life. Seldom fun and games. A little bit, but as long as you can keep them in the stroller, it's really pretty easy. It's when they get out of that stroller that gets pretty tough. I went to Lorenzen Gardens this week. It was Friday. It was free. That's why I went. Probably saved $5. I discovered where all the strollers in Omaha reside. They were at Lorenzen Gardens on Friday. Now, I did see one kid that and again, things just kind of tickle me, but he was on a leash. Say, what happens if you get out of the stroller? A leash. You want to control the situation. All right. But oftentimes, our faith leads us into this moment, and none of us are perfect parents, and there's no guarantees. God is not going to violate your kid's free will so that you can have an easy life. God is a perfect parent, and his kids go sideways all the time. Even though God gives us the right amount of love, right amount of attention, right amount of instruction, right amount of wisdom, right amount of praise, right amount of discipline, God always pushes the right amount of buttons for us, and yet we go our own way. So why would we think that that our kid, even if we pushed all the right buttons, and some of you are beating yourselves up now because you pushed buttons and you think it was your fault that your kids went weird and sideways and different and distant and all that kind of stuff and far from your faith. And the reality is that they chose their own path. And it breaks your heart, I know, and it causes you heartache. But you cannot go back and push different buttons. And maybe perhaps this is kind of your Egypt moment where you're in a different world, in a different place, in a different time, and that kind of whole thing. And you would like to go back home, right? And so that's kind of where they're at. Oftentimes our faith leads us to problems. Just because we say yes to Jesus doesn't mean that we live a problem-free life. All right. Where else does our faith lead? Well, it leads us to surprises. Luke 2:43. After the celebration was over, they started home to Nazareth, but Jesus stayed behind in Jerusalem. His parents didn't miss him at first. Okay, I think this is really funny, actually, because they assumed he was among the other travelers, but when he didn't show up at that evening, they started looking for him among the relatives and friends. By the way, if you think you're a bad mom, at least you didn't lose the Son of God. What? You lost Jesus? What? Jesus is 12, so he's off the leash, I guess, at this moment. And so they're, it's like they're on their way home. They got into the festival and they're coming back home. They just assume he's with some other folks. They thought he was with us. It was like, that good for nothing Nathaniel probably. They're just out there doing stuff, but they trust him. It's like, hey, we'll see you later, and then all of a sudden they realize that he's not there, and panic ensues. I think panic kind of took over, and they began to look and search. And you know that if you've ever lost a kid in a little bit of time, and you know how scary that is. And here they are. They don't know what's happened or where he's at, what he could be. Now they find him in the temple, and he explains to his mom, well, I'm doing about my father's business at this point. He's 12. And she's like, and I think perhaps at that moment that Mary realizes that her little boy's not going to stay a little boy any longer. And there's that tension here between boyhood and manhood, and it surprises her, and I suppose it catches her off a little bit. But we know this, moms and dads, that our kids aren't going to stay little and controllable, and we really truly want them to get to a point of maturity and so there's this almost beginning to release here a little bit of the understanding that he's becoming a man and beginning to make those kind of decisions. Her faith also leads her to this amazing moment in John chapter 2, 3 through 5. The wine supply ran out during the festivities, so Jesus' mother told him they have no more wine. Again, I always get, the Bible kind of just tickles me in certain spots. It's like, well, this is funny to me. They have no more wine. Mary is incredibly subtle at this moment, I think. She's like, gals, I don't know, I live with a subtle woman. Occasionally there's this bag of trash that's in the kitchen. Wonder what that's there for. And I can walk around it and ignore it, but I'm pretty sure that that's there for a reason. She just didn't say, can you and so I'll say something like, do you want me to take out the trash? She's, well, that'd be nice. Okay. And I think that Mary's kind of get to this point where, hey, they ran out of wine. Can you do something about this, right? And, dear woman, that's not our problem. Jesus said, my time has not yet come. But his mother told the servants, do whatever he tells you. Interesting. And amazing exchange here. For a Jewish wedding to run out of wine was a misstep at best. And the rabbis used to say, without wine there is no joy. This was not because they were to get drunk. In fact, drunkenness was a disgrace. But this would have been a terrible embarrassment for the family of the celebration that was taking place here. And Jesus' words are a little confusing, but he simply says, I'll deal with it, and she knows that he can. And I don't know if I don't think she was asking for a miracle here, but for him to address the issue. And But he does. And faith leads her to a place of opportunity and potential that she sees in her son to take care of a problem and to encourage. And I think that also faith leads us to this incredible moment of celebration. To think that our faith wouldn't lead us to moments of joy and celebration is just kind of goofy to think. Oftentimes people think that the church and that Jesus is a party pooper, right? He doesn't want us to have fun or enjoy life. And if we at all kind of get a little happy, he's like, knock it off, right? No. Nobody was bothered the fact that Jesus was invited to the wedding. No, they're like, Jesus is here. Oh, boy. All right. This is going to be dumb. No. In fact, he made the celebration better. So he asked the folks, hey, bring me some of that. Bring me 6 big cisterns of water. And this water was used to wash people's hands, because to eat without washing was not only physically a problem, but it was a spiritual issue as well. It was a spiritual thing to cleanse ourselves before we do this. And for this, so now he's taking this, which was a kind of a law thing, and now making it to this new wine, this better tasting thing, was really a symbol of, okay, remember the law, all those things we had to jump through, those hoops, that kind of stuff. It's going to be different now, and I'm going to usher in this whole new way of doing life. And it's going to be based on celebration and grace and not on law and duty. So here we go. And he kicks it into motion. The old law and the old religion, it was gone. It was without taste. The age of grace was starting. And by the way, there's more than enough for everyone. We're not going to run out this time. We're not going to run out. We're not going to run out. Another place that Mary's faith leads her is to the cross. John 19:25 says, standing near the cross were Jesus' mother and his mother's sister Mary, the wife of Clopas, and Mary Magdalene. I cannot imagine watching Jesus die on the cross. Confusion and fear come back. Faith leads her to a broken place and a broken spirit and a broken heart, not realizing that his dying was going to end up eventually saving her. But this was not how it was supposed to be. Her heart was breaking. And moms, I wish I could tell you that your heart will never be broken, but it probably will. There will, once again, fear and heartache come in, and I do hope that your heart will be able to see things differently in the light of what's going to take place next, right? Jesus' resurrection changes everything. So the heartbreak and the hard moment to watch is realized when he comes back to life. Faith is going to lead us through some difficult times and through some difficult moments. It'll lead us to difficult circumstances. It certainly will. But on the other side of things, you know, we understand that hope will rise up out of these situations. Hope is going to rise up. It's a trusting moment here for Mary, and she has to decide. And she watches her son die. And oftentimes faith leads us to brokenness. It did for her. Now, Acts chapter 1:14, it leads us to a new place. They all met together and were constantly united in prayer. Now, he's talking to the followers of Jesus here. The resurrection is taking place. This is a whole new beginning, whole new day. He says, along with Mary, right? Mary, the mother of Jesus, several other women, and the brothers of Jesus. I think it's important that we know that the brothers of Jesus were now here, part of the equation. Before Jesus died on the cross and came back to life, his brothers didn't have anything to do with him outside of like family functions. They didn't follow him. They didn't believe in him. They didn't worship him. They just, what? They didn't believe. And now the resurrection changes everything. It changes everything. It's like Mother's Day for Mary at this moment. And her family's all with her at church. This is probably perhaps the proudest moment now. Her son's alive and her boys are with her, and they're all in on the deal. They're starting the church together. What an incredible moment. Her faith leads her to this moment where now her family is united in faith. It's an incredible moment in time for her. I just got to think, it's kind of like she's just beaming. She's happy. Why? Because her family believes. Moms, I know that at the core of your being, if you're a Christ follower, the most important thing for you as a mom is to help your kids grab a hold of the faith that you know and understand. And have you given your, because honestly, nothing's going to be more important to you. I know nothing's going to be more, not the ball games, not the drill team, not the concerts, not right the academics. Nothing is going to be at that level when you watch your child grab a hold of the faith of Christ and be baptized into Him. Nothing's going to make you more happier or secure or prouder than at that moment when you perhaps even have the opportunity to share in a baptism of your son or daughter. I know, that's your heart. It beats that way. And so I know for some of you, this is a difficult day because your kids aren't with you on that. And it hurts and it breaks your heart, and you pray. Don't give up on that. Keep praying. Keep hanging in there and keep showing your faith, and perhaps someday that the faith that perhaps was planted there would bloom again somehow, in some way. It did for Mary. And our hope it would for you. Where is your faith leading today? Have you at all been disrupted by God's promptings and leadings in your life? That there's moments where you're like, oh, I think He's asked me to do this. And don't ignore that. It's easy, I know. Okay. And I think it can lead you to incredible places. Probably some problems are going to rise up. If you have a prompting from the Lord, probably the first thing is going to say, oh, that's true, and that's not going to work. That's not going to work. That's not going to work. That's probably not going to happen. That's impossible. Don't think we can do it. Usually when we're prompted by God, the first thing rises up is, I don't think we can do it. And if we get stuck there, we don't move forward. Faith has to lead us to a response, and oftentimes it's a response where it leads us out into a distant land, a different place. Maybe we don't even know where we're going. Perhaps it's going to lead us to a point where our hearts get broken and our fears are realized once again. That's why we have to continually trust and ask Him to lead us. May your lives be disrupted today. That's my prayer for you. And I'm not talking about the rain. May He disrupt your life today. Thank you, God, for this moment. Now we are prepared, I hope, a little bit for your disruption. And may we say yes to it. And then walk with you through it. Lead us. In Christ's name, amen.